North 9th Street. I'm here today on behalf of the Neighborhood Association as president, as well as on my own behalf as an extremely concerned resident. This is certainly not the first time that I've stood before most of you speaking about our concerns regarding the concentration of predatory individuals in DMV work. This has been listed as one of DMV Board's main issues since 2011, and that's the same year that we first sat down with Councilman Reddick and Cedric McCray to discuss. What has allowed this concentration to proliferate is a complete disregard for the zoning codes by code enforcement and the Florida Building Code by the fire marshal. What other area in Tampa would allow 36 individuals to reside in a 3,200 square foot structure, and then times this by 2? If the city would have forced 2 of the rooming houses on Nebraska Avenue to comply with the code enforcement magistrate's 2014 decision, we could have reduced the allowable number of people in these rooming houses to be 32 total between the 2 properties. Instead, you have a city attorney and the fire marshal making a side deal with the property owners to arbitrarily allow 30 people per each of these structures. These rooming houses have historically been the initial residence for the new sexual predators and offenders in DMV Board. And after having experienced the awful living conditions there, they then find other slumlords in the area to rent from, causing a general increase in overall numbers. I have 75 predatory people living within a quarter mile of my house. Most of their victims were under 12. Like I've asked in the past, when is too many just plain too many? Logic would tell me that if you put 25 people in one residence that have all participated in tax fraud schemes in the past, you would end up with 25 tax fraud experts as they share the tricks of their craft with one another. Unfortunately, residents are not privy to the probation terms of these individuals, and when they do violate their specific charges, which is rather quite often, we are not privy to this information either. Are they simply caught somewhere where they shouldn't be, or did they actually violate someone else? I am asking for the Hillsborough County ordinance regarding clustering of predatory people to be enforced in the city. By limiting each property to one of these individuals, it would significantly cut down the number of DMV Board. Where will these people go? That is not our neighborhood's problem, as it wasn't prior to 2009 when the first rooming house owned by James Kremer came into existence. The recidivism rate is pretty high for the predatory people, and per the footnotes on the county ordinance number 08-21, research shows that most convicted sexual offenders have committed many, many crimes before they are caught. They are also indiscriminate as to their victims, whether it be an adult or child, male or female. Are you willing to continue to put our residents at risk? Again, I am asking for relief for our neighborhood from this very serious problem, and that the code enforced, or the Hillsborough County ordinance be enforced. I do have commitment from the county that they will come into the DMV Board and enforce this code, but I'm asking the city departments to step up to the plate. Thank you.
Next speaker. All right, now we're gonna have a football game here. It's the city council meeting, so we expect you to do this. That'd be nice. Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, Judy Greer. I'm at 1314 East 15th Avenue, and I'm not as close to the problems as Kelly is. She will give you the exact amount of predators that are close, within a quarter mile, within a half mile. And a big part of the problem, thanks to you and a lot of organizations affiliated with the city, what have you, have brought in Trinity Cafe. So not only do we house these people, unbelievably, in great quantities, but now we feed them. The Tampa Health Department comes in, brings their big truck, gives them all the health things they need. So where else would they want to go? In other words, they're going to stay there because it's a nice place for them to be. So I think Kelly brought up the best thing. The anti-clustering ordinances have to be enforced. They can't all be in DMV work, as most of them are. I'd like to contribute to buses or whatever that take them up to North Tampa, back down to Hyde Park, West Tampa. I don't care. Something that gives us a little bit of relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Pastor Frank R. Williams, Senior, located 1112 East Scott Street, Paradise Missionary Baptist Church. And I know y'all ain't gonna give me but 3 seconds, but I'm gonna try to speak as fast as I can because I got a lot on the agenda. basically we have to understand why we don't have more black people here. Because I can tell you why, because basically y'all don't represent black folks, and I must be firm with y'all. I done came down here for many years, hoping that somebody would come down and talk with me individually. Nobody seems to care. I came down here one time to read the script out the Bible. Charlie Mirando told me, say, no, I can't do that. And I'm a preacher. But yet, a Mormon can come down here and read out of the Quran, and nobody say nothing about it. So we are prejudiced against God's children. But I have to stand up for, regardless of whether they want to hear me or not. God said we must go out into all the world, preach the gospel, teaching them to observe everything. But something y'all hinder me from doing. And yet, you're trying to destroy my church. Located at 1112 East Scott Street. I went down there to meet with Buckhorn. He never called me back. Yet, understand, we're taxpayers. You all are living off our money. And you got to understand, you're supposed to represent all people. The Mexican, the Jew, the Indian, the so-called black folk, and all the colored folks as well as the white folk. But y'all don't want to put that on y'all agenda. Y'all got to divide that line. Well, y'all want to only represent white folks only. But I must tell y'all, I want to tell y'all Happy New Year. But y'all got to understand, you got to be obedient to God in order to rejoice a Happy New Year. Miranda, God bless you. But you shouldn't reject me reading the scripture of God in this place. Damnation will come upon all of us. We're here today because we're still breathing God's air. If God didn't wake us up this morning, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. All of us, regardless of whether they believe it or not, ought to give God some glory and give God some praises and thank God for your life and try to help with people that is down and out. I had a woman come up here talking about suicide. Practically everybody in Tampa. If y'all would handle them like you would handle me, we would commit suicide. But I'm not a suicidal person. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. And I'm a lover of God. And I thank God for letting me be here to see another year of 2016. I have a lot of other things I wanted to talk about. But I know y'all not going to give me the privilege to talk about it. But when other people come up here, just hold them up here, asking them questions. Why don't y'all ask me some questions? No, it won't happen. God bless all of you.
Next week.
Hi, my name is Liz Cannon, and I've recently moved to 3202 North 12th Street. I'm here to speak on topic 6, which is the issue of the concentration of sexual predators in the neighborhood. First and foremost, I'd like to say I actually am of the opinion that I don't have a problem with people living wherever they're living. I feel that we often castigate people who have a former record of any sort, but especially when it comes to people who have some kind of sexual predator application put upon them by the justice system, right or wrong. I have worked with departments of correction and I have done volunteer work, and I can say that many people who are in these situations have mental health issues that have to be dealt with. And so what I'm here to say to you as a city council, I think you should be very mindful of the regulations, statutes, and laws that you have on the books, and it sounds like you're not being. I don't know, I'm not privy to all the statistics. But I also will say that as a person living in that neighborhood, I feel that people have a right to have a home, they have a right to have a safe place to live, and there's some place in the middle where the city of Tampa can do something to be helpful for the people in that neighborhood. And it is interesting to me that since I have moved into that neighborhood, I've gotten opportunities to deal with people in crisis. For whatever interesting reason, I've had many of my neighbors come to me asking me for help, perhaps because they know I'm an attorney. So the word gets out, oh, she's an attorney, she can help you. And the very interesting thing is when I try to help them and find places for them to get things like paying their electric bill, no one can help. The funding isn't there. So I think all of these things do play a role together. They're all interconnected. And I would hope that the city council listen to VM Ybor very, very closely. If you're not following the rules, you're not following the laws, it's a problem. But also, let's all keep in mind that people do have human rights, and we want to be respectful of that as well. And I think that we do have the opportunity to have a happy meeting ground if we all try. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Terry Grimsdale. I live at 2701 North 9th Street. I've lived here 10 years and I've watched the ebb and the flow of the neighborhood as it has transitioned. When we first moved into that area, it was a lot of prostitution, a lot of drugs, everything that goes with that, and through the help of Tampa PD, the neighborhood associations, and neighbors in general. It cleaned up dramatically. I've got 2 children so the issues of the sexual predators sort of high on my list. We can't allow them, we can't allow them. It goes against my best parenting to have them out on the streets when I've got sexual predators in my neighborhood. Unfortunately, now that we've done away with most of the prostitution, most of the drugs, now we have a new problem, and that is the sexual predators. I've got 97 predatory alerts in 4 years, 2012. So that equals 2 plus a little every day. I'm sorry, every month. It's just a huge, huge concentration. I think that we probably have the highest concentration of sexual predators in the city of Tampa. In fact, I know we do. I would suspect we also have the highest concentration of sexual predators in the county. I'd like to see the city step up. I'd like to see, like the lady said just prior to me, it's not an issue of them being sexual predators. It's an issue of the amount that we have in such a small area. Thank you.
Good morning.
My name is Deborah Ramos. I'm a resident at 2606 North 12th Street, and I'm a landlord at 1023 East Columbus Drive. I've invested a considerable amount of money and time into VM Ybor. I've spoken before this council before on other issues, and I know that you're tired of hearing from us, and I know that our neighborhood association is vocal about our concerns, and I know it was our choice to move into this up-and-coming neighborhood. But in the time since I've been in this neighborhood, I have seen the concentration of these individuals increase. Just yesterday at work, when I was saying that I was taking time off to speak to you, I pulled up the map and the concentration. And the difference between concentration in VM Ybor and anyone else's neighborhood was drastic. All we're asking for is fair and equitable consideration of the regulations that are already on law. I'm asking for enforcement of Division 5 Child Sex Crime Prevention, Section 36-304 to be enforced on those properties on Nebraska Avenue the same way it would be enforced in Hyde Park or in Carrollwood or in West Chase. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Alexandra Bick at 1410 East 23rd Avenue. My question is, why the DOC allows so many sexual predators to move in our neighborhood? That's really what I'd like to know. I've been living there for the last 10 years, and I've seen the situation getting worse. And it's, as you can imagine, none of you would like to have that many around, and we really don't want to see the situation continue that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Lena Young Green, 3406 North 8th Avenue. I want to wish the council all the best for 2016 and hope that we could work together in a very effective way to keep our communities safe and improved. Today, I am here on behalf of my neighborhood, Tampa Heights, in support of VM Ybor. We have got to start making our decisions with things linked together. The issues that VM Ybor is addressing are some of the same issues that our other urban core neighborhoods are addressing. It's unfair to focus all the concentration of one group of people have improved them. But if we make decisions that continue to focus and place a concentration of one group or different groups in one area, all the work that we are trying to do, all the work that we've done in the past will not be beneficial. There are many decisions that are made that are impacting the poorer and the more urban neighborhoods. And I ask you today to look at these issues from a broader perspective and determine how we could impact and improve the entire city of Tampa, not just certain areas that are impacted by certain investments. So that's what I'm asking today, and ask that you continue to think about these decisions and connect these issues as we try to work together in this year and the years coming. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Good morning. James Worley, www.homelesslivesmatter.org. I'd like to speak to you today about homelessness and crisis. I'm glad that you're here. Beth Ross of Blanket, Tampa Bay alerted me of a man that was on a bench at the corner of Armenia and Hillsborough that was definitely in crisis and should have been recognized as being in crisis. However, police officers just drove by and ignored that man as well as they do other people that are on the streets, homeless people especially. This is the man right here. This man's name was Charles Jans. Born in 1950, he worked for Pinellas County School Board 22 years, no arrest record. His life fell apart when his parents died, his wife died, and he lost his home last year to a tax foreclosure auction. He gave up. I sat the other night, all night with this man, talking to him to learn a lot about him. He just wanted to die, and he told me he was going to die on that bench. It took 2 calls, one to Officer Whitney of Tampa Police Department, who told Beth Ross to call the non-emergency number. She called the non-emergency number. They called the crisis unit ambulance that came out. I arrived when the crisis unit was there, and they were speaking to Charles, and here's them right before they left. 4 times they had the man sign the iPad with his finger to make sure that they had the good signature that he was refusing service.
Sir, you need to talk to us and not know it.
Okay. Anyway, a question that I have about them is, how trained are they to recognize a medical emergency where this man right now is in the hospital with a fractured hip and kidney failure? They should have recognized that, and if he refused the service, then called the police department back and said, this man needs to be Baker Act, instead of just having him sign and leave him there. That was not right for anybody. I would expect more than that out of them, for anybody, for you, for me, any citizen. As for the conversation about the area of Nebraska Avenue, somebody had brought up Trinity Cafe, and I agree. Cindy, I've told Cindy Davis myself that I believe Trinity Cafe should have been in the middle of a 400-bed facility and served the homeless